Once upon a time, there was a Sami girl named Inga. And Inga, she had a best friend, and his name was Nilas. Every summer, Inga and Nilas were down by the river catching salmon and trout, while the mosquitoes were dancing behind the birch trees, and the midnight sun was glowing all through the summer nights. And in the winter time, they were up on the tundra, herding the reindeer, while the northern lights were flickering all over the midwinter sky. And the years went by, and Inga and Nilas were about to be married to each other. So Inga, she wanted to go up onto the mountain plateau to pick some cloudberries for Nilas, the best berries he knew. So she took a birch bark basket and off she went, all the way up, higher and higher. And then she started to pick the berries. But all of a sudden, she heard something. Inga, Inga. She looked around. All she could hear in the distance were the bells of the reindeer and the wind. "Ha, that must have been the wind," she said to herself. And then she continued further up, higher and higher, till she came to a beautiful meadow and was filled with cloudberries. So she picked the berries, but all of a sudden, there it was again. Inga, Inga. Ha! I think I know who that is. That is probably Nilas, my best friend. And he is just trying to scare me. But I'm not easy to scare. "Hey, Nilas, go back to the village. You don't scare me," she shouted. And it went completely silent. So, a little while later, Inga came to a crystal clear mountain lake, and she sat down in the moss to have a little rest. It was so beautiful. All she could hear was the running water from the river, dancing and singing down towards the lake, the birds in the trees. A beautiful afternoon. Oh, it was so beautiful up in the mountain. But then she saw something down by the boulders. It was a black shadow. It was a wolverine, and it came closer and closer towards Inga. It had razor-sharp claws and teeth and ugly yellow eyes, and it came towards her. And when it was right in front of Inga, it transformed into a gnome king, the king of the Ulda people, the little people that lives inside the boulders and the rocks of the Arctic, and they are not nice. And this was the king himself, and he said, "Oh, Inga, you are so beautiful. I would like to take you inside my mountain and make you my queen." "Oh, thanks, but I'm going to be married to Nilas. And by the way, I have to go back to the village now, so thanks, but no thanks." "Wait a minute. You are going to be my queen, whether you like it or not," the gnome king said. And then he took Inga into his mountain. And Inga, she cried and she cried. And finally, the gnome king said to her, "I will make a deal with you. If anyone recognizes you, then you are free to go home. If not, then you have to marry me the 21st of November, the day the dark time starts." I can hardly wait. And then he cast a spell over Inga so she couldn't go away. She couldn't escape if she even tried to. And he also transformed her into a little white mountain bird, a ptarmigan or a grouse. And he put her out on the mountain plateau, and she couldn't fly away. And she cried and she cried. And down in Inga's village, Nilas and the others were wondering, "Where is Inga? We haven't seen her for a while. Where is she?" And they dropped everything they were doing, and they ran up into the mountains. "Inga, Inga, where are you? Inga, where are you?" And all of them saw the little white bird that didn't fly away, with sad black eyes that just sit there. No one recognized Inga. Not even Nilas recognized her. And then September went on, and October, and no one was looking for Inga anymore. Except Nilas. He could feel inside his heart that Inga had to be alive somewhere up on the mountain plateau. But he also knew that the Arctic tundra is enormously big, so how could he find her? He needed some magical help. He went to the Nuaidi, the shaman of the village, and he lived in a lavvo just outside the village. "Oh, Nilas, I've been waiting for you," he said. "You are such a kind-hearted young man, Nilas. You always put others before yourself. Now I will give you the help you need. You love Inga, and you are the one that can find her, no one else." And that said, the Nuaida started to beat his drum faster and faster and louder. Nilas lost track of time. He didn't know what was up or down, east or west, north or south. And Inga didn't know anything about this. She was still trapped inside the Gnome King's mountain. And then, November. The 21st of November. "Ha ha 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 ha!" the Gnome King said. "Now I'm ready. Oh, let's get married." "Oh, please let me out on the tundra just one more time so I can see the northern lights," Inga cried. "Only for a short while," said the Gnome King. And then he cast a spell over Inga again, transforming her into the little white bird, and put her out on the plateau. And Inga, she sat there and she was crying. She was heartbroken, devastated, so sad never to see her loved ones again. But then, down by the lake, she could hear paws in the snow. It was a beautiful golden lynx that came towards her with kind brown eyes. And in the same minute, the mountain started to tremble, and out came the Gnome King, and he was furiously mad. He transformed into the Wolverine again, with the razor-sharp claws and teeth, and he went for a horrible fight with the lynx. It was a fight for life and death. And Inga, she sat there as if she was frozen. Then, all of a sudden, something. She heard it from the river, from the lake, from the mountain, the ground itself. "Inga, it's me. It's Nilas. The Nuaidi gave me magical help so I could find you. I recognize you. You're free to go home." And Inga, she shouted out as loud as she could, "Gnome King! Nilas found me. I'm free!" And the Gnome King, he went so furiously mad that this time he just vanished in thin air, never to be seen again. And the spell was broken. Inga was Inga again. She was not longer a little bird. And Nilas was Nilas. He was no longer a lynx. And then they went back to the village. And of course, they got married. And they lived happily ever after in the land of the northern lights and the midnight sun.